Awesome. I think we're live.
Oh, that's good.
Great. All right. I think you can hear me. Hey, sorry, Ayush. We're a few minutes late to this. We were having some technical issues. We couldn't hear each other. Can you hear us fine? Guys who've joined, if you can hear us, please just say yes in the comment section, and then we can get started with this. Awesome. Divyansh, you can hear us. That's great. Sagar, Hemant, hey guys. Shubham Das, hey. Thank you. Ravid, let's just wait for a minute more for folks to just let us know if they can hear us. Awesome. Shravan, Tushar, Gautam, thank you for responding to us. Thank you for your question, Abhishek. I'll answer that in a bit when the new batch will launch. Akhil, I think your question on DSA, I think Shubham will be able to answer.
Do you want me to go right now, Vedant?
Sorry.
Question on DSA.
No. Let's maybe we can start with an introduction, then we can get into that. Who am I? Okay, great. Hey Sagar, I can introduce myself as well before we start this. Great, Pratik, you have the same question as Akhil. Cool. We'll answer that as well. Great. So maybe we can get started, Shubham. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining, and welcome to another AMA with some of our Scalar mentees who done really well. We're very fortunate, very happy, very proud to have them part of our Scalar family, and love to do more of these AMAs for you guys to learn a little more about their journeys. Maybe we can start. I can start with a quick introduction of myself. There was a question about who am I, and then I'd leave the floor to Shubham to introduce himself, and then we can get started with this. So my introduction, my name is Vedant. I am currently with Scalar. I lead the business vertical for working professionals for Scalar Academy. Before this, I was a venture capitalist, and I was a management consultant before that. Very fortunate to have Shubham here today. Shubham, do you want to take a few minutes to just introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Vedant. Hi, everyone. I'm Shubham. I graduated from DTU in 2020, just right now. And I majored in CS, and I have just joined Google last week on 3rd of August.
Great. So maybe we can get started. Shubham, I can ask you a few questions. We can, maybe use the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so, just to get to know you a little more. And then, guys, as you, sort of have more questions, please feel free to keep putting it in to the chat bar and, the live chat, and then we will pick up questions from there as and when they come in. Just to understand the audience a little today. I think we have close to 100 people now who've joined. Guys, if you can just comment and let us know, are you currently in college? Are you working right now? If you're in college, just tell us which year you're in. And if you're working, tell us how many years of experience you have so that, Shubham and I can tailor our responses in the most appropriate way. Please go ahead and just put it in the live chat so that we understand where you guys are coming from. Okay, someone's in college, second year. Vinay. And if you can let us know if you're a computer science student or not. working 6 years, working 2 years, third year, 1.5 years of experience. Okay, wow, we have someone with 12 years of experience. Hey, Hemant. College, third year. Hey, Aniket. Someone's graduating in 2021. Okay, so I think we have a wide range of people who are in their second year of college, all the way to people who have up to 12 years of experience. That's awesome. Awesome to have such a wide range of people here. Computer science from DTU. Oh, great. Vishal, I guess you know Shubham from before. 2 years experience, CS master student. Okay, great. Computer science student graduated in 2020. Okay.
Hi, Vikrant.
Oh, he's a friend of yours. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think we have a broad sense. So we will do one thing. We will try to keep the answers, and when I say we, I mean Shubham mostly. We'll try to keep his answers then to sort of explain it from basics, because I guess we have a wide range of people who have joined here today. Thank you again, guys, for joining. Shubham, do you want to just start off a little about your background? I know you did computer science at DTU when you graduated in 2020, but if you want to just talk, 2-3 minutes about your background, then we'll get into what people want to know about is Google and how you prepare for it.
So background as in, I studied computer science in 11th and 12th also. So I have a bit of computer science background in that sense, and in the sense of like competitive programming or like preparation for like maybe core subjects. I didn't do it much before my second or third year of studies, and most of the time I was just figuring things out, like what to do and so on.
Got it. Awesome. And why did you choose DTU? Why did you choose computer science within DTU?
I chose computer science. I didn't choose DTU, I would say, and because I had studied computer science in 11th and 12th. So in fact, I wanted to study physics, and I couldn't get admission in any good place to like study physics. So the option was like the next best option was engineering, and in engineering I don't think I could study anything other than CS. So in that way, that was non-negotiable for me. And it was in Delhi. It was near my home, and the campus was awesome. So I even surveyed the campuses of like what is now NSUT and DTU.
Got it. So your love for computer science actually drove you to DTU.
Yeah.
Awesome, great, and congratulations again for cracking Google. I guess you'll be joining in a few months from now.
No, I joined last week.
Oh, you joined last week. Awesome. Yeah. Great. And are you feeling excited about it? How's the sentiment with you at home?
Of course, everybody is excited, and like it was kind of unexpected, so that makes it all the more awesome.
No, I don't think it's unexpected at all. I was speaking to a few of the tutors and mentors who mentored you, and they have very good things to say about you. So I don't think it was unexpected. Great. So maybe, guys, I'm also going to take everyone on webinar. I'm going to take notes while Shubham speaks. And I have sort of put that in the live chat bar. I hope everyone can see it. Just visit this particular link, and while Shubham talks about his Google interview in the process and how he prepared, if you guys ever want to refer back to what he said, I'll be taking running notes of the session as well. Cool. So maybe we can start with how you went about the preparation of Google, the interview, and then we can take specific questions from people who've asked in the chat bar. So Shubham, why don't you just start with that? How many interview rounds does Google have? What's the first interview like? Why don't you get into that?
Okay, sure. So so I applied. So I was referred by Utkarsh from Scalar, and I applied in September, and I heard back from them in the same month or in October early. And I first went through. There's a first of all, there's a phone call interview. So some people get accelerated their process, and like Google accelerates their process, and they kind of can skip the phone call interview, but I had to go through it. And after clearing my phone call interview, I went on site in Google Bangalore, which is going to be my current office, and they interviewed me there for an entire day. And in that, there were 4 rounds of technical interviews and 1 round of what we call Googliness interview, which is behavioral round.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Makes sense. And help us understand, what was the telephonic interview round all about? What kind of person took your interview then?
Okay, so an engineer from Silicon Valley, Google, took my interview, and he was 3 years experienced, and he took my interview, and the interview was scheduled for 45 minutes, and it got over early in about 30 minutes, and the question they asked were about DSLGO, which is classic. DSLGO questions that big companies ask.
Got it. And when it ended in 30 minutes, did you feel that, oh no, I screwed up? It should have been longer. How did you think about it at that point in time? Is a 30-minute interview a good thing, or it's not a good thing?
So there was no reason to think that it's a bad thing, and it went really well in my head. But obviously, we all have self doubts, and so. But I was not worried about the time as such. But I think it's probably better because, see, Google wants to hire you more than you want yourself to hire. They have a huge budget, and you'll probably be shocked if I told you how much they spend and how many candidates they interviewed. So and Silicon Valley engineers themselves are earning a couple grand maybe every day. So they have a huge budget. So and they are sifting through a lot of resumes. So they want to hire you more. So they are looking for signals to hire you, not to reject you. You have to screw up really bad if they reject you due to what you did. And the alternative is that they want to look for signals that why they should hire you. That's what you should focus on in resume. I think he got enough signals from me in 30 minutes. That's what I think about it.
Sorry. Tushar is asking a question. Maybe we should answer this. Could you be more specific about the classic DS questions that were asked? I mean, whatever you can share. I know it's you can't share a lot.
Yeah,
but whatever.
So the exact question is exact questions are we have them confidential, but still the traditional questions that you have about all of the basic data structures. So specifically, I can tell you that it was from the data structures called hash sets, and which is unordered set in C++, and that was the phone call interview. Only one question was asked, and I don't know if there was a follow-up. There was follow-up was I had to write tests for that same question. So that was that. And if you visit any preparation site like Intervit or LeetCode or GFG, you can find those questions. These are most of them are public, so they get public after 4 or 5 months.
Got it. So a lot of the questions get public, but to answer Tushar's specific question, you're saying there was one question that was asked and then you had to write tests around that.
Yes.
Got it. And I guess I answered Sneha's question as well, that there's only one question that was asked.
Yes.
Maybe
yes. So in phone call, only one question was asked. So there's a blog. So when you apply for Google, they send you preparatory material on the email, and if the resume gets shortlisted, and I just want to stress this very, very much, that you want to go through everything. I went through everything twice, I guess. So again, as I said, they want to hire you more than you want yourself to get hired. And they have automated this process of, because they also get a lot of applications how do we prepare and so on. So they have put out these amazing resources. You might get them from anywhere. So one of them is Steve Yeage's blog. So he also mentions this, that you should aim to answer one question in 20 to 25 minutes. And this is also what you you should aim for when you're practicing on online judges and so on. So if you can answer those questions in that much time. So similarly, the first round that was phone call, the engineers probably got satisfied with the one question only. if they are not satisfied, or even if they just want to look at more data, so they can go over to 45 minutes, but then they would probably want to see you answering more than one question, maybe one and a half question, one question and its follow up, and so on.
Got it. So the number of questions can range from one, if you're as started as Shubham, and then it can range to maybe 1.5, almost 2 questions as well. Is
Yes,
that
so
what you expect?
in fact, it can go less than 1 2. So in one of my on-site interviews, so on-site were 4 technical rounds, I was not able to complete even one question. But by that point, I had, I think, enough mileage, so they took my other interview and so on, and overall it came together maybe. And I probably did some other things, being candid, being honest, being very communicative, and even when I explained a wrong solution, I made sure to communicate this to the interviewer, that why I thought of that solution. So
So you
that is very
communicated your
important.
thought process as you thought about the question. As you thought about the question and the answer, you communicated your thought process throughout.
Yeah, so in our classes and in our mentor sessions, the mentors stressed about this very much, that you should always explain your thought process. And I was just a novice, so what I did was I explained one approach, then I thought about second approach, then I realized that first approach was wrong, and then I asked him, did you get why I told you that first approach? So the first approach was that I told was with 2 pointers, and there was a specific edge case of there was a if you could divide that question into 2 classes, then one class could be solved by 2 pointers and other class could not be. So when I asked him could you understand why I solved it with 2 pointers, so he said, I have no idea. And they all have poker faces, so you couldn't get it earlier. So that's why it's very important to continue keep getting the feedback. And once I asked that, he told me, then I spent my very precious time of interview explaining to him why that question came to my mind, what was my thought process, and which parts of question it solved, which parts of question it did not solve. And that was probably good, because once you're stuck here, sometimes you cannot get to the exact expected answer. And like they say, my mentors used to say, if you get to the exact answer, then everything is forgivable. Not in Google, but in most companies, your code quality will be forgiven by engineers if your question is if you solve the question very good. But in Google, that doesn't work that way. But still, if you do everything else right, then you can get excused in 1 or 2 interviews with that.
Got it. I think for some people who might have joined right now, welcome. I think where the count went up a fair bit. We're talking to Shubham, who recently got into Google his first week. He just joined last week. We're taking notes as we speak with Shubham, and all of the stuff that we're talking about will be cataloged within this as well. Shubham, one question that came up is from Ridhima, is competitive programming necessary to crack these interviews? How do you think about that?
So it is neither necessary nor sufficient. So I do not think I have much background of competitive programming. Maybe if I totally I didn't participate in more than 25 contests, and the people who call themselves competitive programmers, who deserve to be called competitive programmers, maybe solve hundreds of contests over their 4 years of college. So I wouldn't say that. And obviously competitive programming is not a must, and it's neither again not even sufficient. So but it's I once read a very good analogy, it's like training for running by cycling. It would surely help, but it's not it may be the best way too, but it's not necessary if you don't like it.
Got it.
I for one am on the extreme left side of the bell curve here, because I did very little of the competitive programming, but still I had an idea. I won't I did fumble with it a bit.
Got it. That's an interesting insight. I hope that answered Ridhima's question. I'm just going through the other questions as well. Yeah, I think there's one which is talking about the resources that you use to prepare for the Google interview. So maybe you want to talk a little about the Scalar process, the curriculum, content, your tutors. Maybe that answers Prateek's question to some extent, Prateek Gaur's question. You want to answer that, Shubham, of
Yeah,
the
sure.
resources that you use for Google and how you went about that entire thing?
Yeah, sure. So I knew coding when I was in 11th and 12th, and like I didn't know anything about DS Algo. In fact, I remember that they had some questions about linked list and all so on in my 12th computer science exam, and I didn't know what those things were. And like when I first I always think like so this is my default mode that, and this is wrong, that whenever I read about new thing I think it's trivial. So when I heard about binary search trees I thought it's just binary search, like what's new in that. So I, in fact, even by the end of second year I think so, and that's very new for those of you who know this. So after I had like my after I was serious about like getting this, and after I had joined Scalar, I kind of outsourced my this aspect of preparation, that like all the materials and all I always like mostly I refer to interview it only. And like other than that, of course you want to because you're going to be a computer scientist, so yeah, you want to be able to satisfy your curiosity. So I always had this fear in my first year that I might graduate for 4 years, because like seeing the state of college and teaching there, so I had this fear that I might graduate after 4 years. I might not know anything about computers, and I might not know even the basic question, and I will be revealed for the fraud that I am. So that for that obviously Scalar was not sufficient, and for that I had to yeah, what everyone does, search on YouTube. I think there's a channel called 8-bit programming, and he programs on like those boards. I forgot what they're called, and so on. There I looked up how TCP/IP could be coded at the network layer, and so on. So I had this constant thing that the subject that I studied in the previous semester, I was pursuing it naturally by being curious in the next semester. So that's that. But for coding, I like 90% of it was relied on Scalar.
On Scalar, awesome. But then I think there's a very important message there that motivation, hard work, that's also very important. And then you have some of these resources that you can also avail of to get in. Okay, got it. I think there's one question of I think there's a question that Bhanu is asking: is it sufficient to crack a Google interview with competitive programming? I think the answer to that is no. You need some DS algo, but Shubham, maybe if I can rephrase that question: is DS algo the only thing that is necessary, or is there something else? Maybe also answer for us: why is DS algo needed? Like, is it just something that you use to crack interviews, or is it actually used to become a good engineer?
Okay, yeah. Before that, I just want to pinpoint that there are a couple questions about internships too, so we'll take them later. And yeah, so like I said, competitive programming is neither like necessary nor sufficient. DS algo is necessary, definitely necessary, and probably sufficient in case of Google. Yeah, so but the caveat here is that because all of my 5 technical rounds, the 1 phone call and the 4 on-sites, were completely, totally, 100% revolving around DS algo. But yeah, your resume is being surveyed by human engineers, and they always look at the resume while interviewing you. And so if I'm interviewing you personally, I would be very I would have a very less opinion of you if you're only doing DSLGO, because then I would think that yeah, you're trying to game the system and you're not interested in this subject, and you might not work. You like to hack systems, and as not in computer systems, but in like the system of interviewing that we have put up. So yeah, so it's sufficient. And in most other companies, you will be asked questions around networking, you will be asked questions around computers, and you definitely don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, and you definitely don't want to do rely on like we'll get Google.
Got it. So you're saying DS algo is necessary, but it's also necessary to not show yourself as one-sided, that you're just here to sort of just game the system and go forward, but you're also a more holistic engineer. Also, an understanding of more topics is necessary. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And otherwise, yeah, you yourself are a machine. If you think like a system, then you yourself will get very dry and bored if you only grill on lead code or interview it, or like only competitive computer. And you would not know if, like, in course of your real job, if something comes up, then it would be very hard to keep yourself motivated if you do not. So if we all have a natural intrinsic curiosity about things, and it is best to satisfy those, and that's what gives you confidence that, like, yeah, I know how this stuff works.
Got it. Makes a ton of sense. I just want to answer one question that Akhil has asked. I think he's asked this question maybe 4 or 5 times now. I just want to address that once, and then we'll get back to the Google stuff. So Akhil, your question is, I'm in my 4th sem and I'm going to 5th, and I just started with DSA. Can you guide me? Am I too late? And what should be my path? I'll just take a small deviation and talk about this new program that Scalar has launched called Scalar Edge, which is specifically for folks like you who are currently in college right now and want a more structured sort of path to learn. I've put a description of Scalar Edge in the chat window itself. I'm just gonna write just check out our website, scalar.com/edge. I'm just gonna flash it on our screen as well, and that hopefully will give you some sense of how you can sort of plan your career forward from now on. There's also a Telegram group that we have recently launched, just for folks who have the same kind of questions. I'm in college, and tell me how to prepare and so on and so forth. I'm flashing that also on the screen right now. So for anyone who is sort of is more curious to understand more about Edge and how it works. Actually, Shubham is a mentor at Edge. Shubham, you want to talk about that a little of your the mentoring for this?
I probably won't be taking too many students, so maybe you shouldn't have that as. But all of the mentors are good. All of them are from very good companies, and all of them are like, some of them are my friends, and so yeah, it's and I looked at the curriculum. It's good.
Awesome.
And one more thing I want to say about that thing, that am I late? So I want to tell you that before end of my second year, I didn't do any competitive coding. I was familiar. I will grant that I was familiar, and I was very interested in computer science. I studied it in 11th and 12th, but that's not what DS Algo is. That's an entire different animal. And one thing is that whenever I think about things like this, that like has achieved at age Y, so you only want, then what you want to think about is the Pareto principle. Like 80% of the results come from 20% of efforts or things. Then if you have less time, you just want to prioritize more. And if you prioritize more, you can still have the meatier part of the rewards. And you just hire Siddharth Singhal, his a friend. So if you just prioritize more, then you can always like do things in lesser time. And that's what I like. Again, probably it's getting, but that's what I like about this structured program here. That, like, I again said that it outsourced all those of worries.
Outsourced your worries. Interesting. Okay. You outsource a lot of things now in life, and now you're outsourcing worry as well. Cool. I just want to take a small sort of temperature check in the room. Guys who are on live chat, is this helpful right now, that what we're talking about Google? More questions that you have? Do you want Shubham to answer specific stuff around Google or his preparation strategy? Just let us know in the chat so that we can use the rest of the time more effectively to answer as many questions as possible.
There's a question that how to switch from service-based to product-based company, and I just want to say that my first internship was in a service-based company, and so in service-based companies, the good thing is that you probably can get away with doing like most of your time is free, and so you can probably get away with a lot of time on your hands to prepare. So that's not a problem, and you probably don't want to highlight that much in your resume. But so product-based companies more like to see initiative. So if you you certainly would have had some situations in your job, and if you did not even have that, but if you are that type of person, you surely would have grabbed some hard problem and tried to solve it on your own. So you maybe want to highlight your self projects more than, like, if I am now interviewing for a company, then I would have better things to say about my experience. That's totally excusable. but still you probably have a lot of other things that you can emphasize.
Got it. So you're saying project-based companies, kind of flash on the screen again, project-based companies like seeing initiative,
Yeah.
show self projects
Yeah,
is
in
your.
my resume too, I showed that I did this and this. I automated myself out of a job in my service-based company and so on. So you can probably tinker about it. I probably have 20 versions of my resume in my Google Drive, but it evolves over time. So it's like that. That's another takeaway. I think that you should like probably look at your resume every once in a week and get it reviewed by others, so you can like see what's important, what's not, what. So you have to be data driven. Yeah, you are an engineer, so you just send one version, do A/B testing, send one version of resume to 10 people, and send another version to 10 other people, see what gets response and so on.
Got it. Got it. Very interesting. There was also a question on internships. It was asked way back. Do you want to take that question now?
Yeah, sure. So internships do matter, and I'm probably the one who took it lightly because by the end of my second year, so companies start coming in fifth semester. That is the beginning of third year for internships, and I did not have the CGPA, that CGPA cutoff that was required to sit in the most of the companies. So I couldn't sit in 70-80% companies. So I didn't even build a like a resume manager profile. That's our internal system for students who want to apply for internships. And I ignored, because that's when I started thinking seriously about this stuff. And my priorities were that I want to sit for 80% of the companies, and the difference was not that large. So I prioritized that, and I didn't sit for any companies for 6 months, and most of the good companies were gone. And so I started sitting in internships for 6 semester only. So that was probably I could have do. matlab, how can I say, I could have done better, but I could have like outsourced more of my worries if I was doing an intern in a good place. So internships do matter, but when you are interviewing for a job, it doesn't matter. Like if you are like cheap signaling now that you got an offer, or if you interned at this good place, then good companies won't consider that as much, wouldn't weigh that much. So what I'm saying is, if you want to work for maybe some average company, then they might be impressed by seeing that you interned at Amazon or something. But if you want to work for maybe the big companies, they might get influenced, but the final decision, I'm very certain, won't have a weightage on that part, that you did intern at a great place. But it will certainly have a great weightage on how you present it. Did you take initiative? Can you build something? How is your GitHub profile and so on?
Cool. So if I had to paraphrase again, internships matter to some extent. They're not going to make or break sort of your application.
Yes, if you have an option to do an intern, then surely grab it. And if you somehow don't get an internship, then don't get worried about it. But you can make it up for it. Definitely make it up by doing a lot of projects, interesting projects, by solving some real world problem, and by maybe approaching people for, like, everybody wants, like, nobody is going to say no if you do free work from them for them. So you can probably do that as well if the internship is good. The only thing is that you should take initiative and it should be good.
Got it. Matters to some extent, but you can also make it up with
Yeah,
some
sure.
level of projects as well. So keep the hustle going. Don't just say that, hey, I can't do anything right now. I don't have the opportunities. There was one question on, is there a specific weightage in DSA for different topics within this broader umbrella? I mean, do you want to talk about it from a Google point of view? You can talk about it from multiple other companies' point of view as well. If you were to just look at DSA,
Okay.
do you think one topic has more weightage? I think that is from
Okay,
Amar.
so
Let me just flash that on the screen so that everyone has context of what question we're trying to solve.
do companies have weightage? Yes. So Amazon, as I gather, like, don't ask much about dynamic programming. I again don't have any clue. I got rejected in their first round, so I don't have access to that. But I hear it that, and Google does ask dynamic programming. They grill on it. I heard that, but I was only asked a 1D DP question. That was, I won't say trivial, but that wasn't too hard. So yes, companies do have a profile, and if you want to prepare for a company, so there are two modes of preparation. One is a long diffuse mode, and one is a focus mode. if when you are preparing for a diffuse mode, I very strongly believe that you should pursue your natural curiosity. So uh, if you don't get bothered by like how do we solve this problem, I don't know, like, yeah, do you even have a heart? So you should, if whenever you are worried, like, yeah, how can this problem be solved, you should naturally pursue it and see how it can be solved. And it doesn't matter which topic it is from, but how much hard it is. But like, again, we live in real world, and like it works in a it pays to actually try to focus on the particular topics companies ask. So again, most of the companies won't ask you harder questions than, let's say, you should do linked list, stacks, queues, arrays, and trees. That's about it for most of the companies. Now if you go for the big 4 5, so then they like start trading in the deep waters of dynamic programming and graphs. Even in Google, I can say that at my specific role, they didn't ask anything harder than like breadth first search and depth first search in my interview round. In fact, my mentor scared me because like before my Google interview, he told me that one of the persons was asked, there's a famous problem called mice and holes problem, and it gets solved by like Floyd Fulkerson algorithm, max flow min cut thing. And that was like I was very worried, and I tried to study it. But they don't ask it, at least at our stage. But if you are like that is to say, if you are even very experienced, then they will probably ask more about, maybe they can do 2D DP, which is which is somewhat tricky, or they can do in graphs, they can go beyond DFS and DFS, or maybe they can ask a follow up and A star. I was told that. In fact, that even depends. If you are boasting about CP in your resume, then you will definitely be graded by some of the interview, because one of the interview will definitely try to test it, because some people try to game that thing by faking profile ratings. So then they'll definitely do it. But I was very modest. In fact, I didn't even mention my code chef profile or any profile in my resume. So you can get away with that. I didn't even mention my LinkedIn profile. You can get away with that. So if you don't do that, then the things you boast about, only they will be tested.
Got it. So I think the takeaway here is that, be honest with what you know. What you know is what will get tested, and have a very, very rigorous understanding of that.
Don't take it too literally that if you don't know any DSA and you brag that I'm a networking expert, then you will get hired. I think the engineer who made homebrew system, so there's something called Brew or something like that. So that's used by 90% of the engineers at Google, and he tweeted about it that I was interviewed at Google, and since I couldn't invert a binary tree, I couldn't get into it. And even though 90% of the engineers at Google use my the tool that I built. So the takeaway here is that you like don't want to be too idealistic that I want to only pursue the things that I'm interested in. You want to study things that people are looking for, that are in demand.
Got it. There's one question around A star algo and balanced BST, which Sneha has asked.
Okay, what about A star algo and balanced BST? Are they likely to be asked again? The person who was asked this A star algo, so first of all, they weren't asked to implement it. They weren't asked to do anything with it. The question they were asked was something related to Dijkstra, and the interviewer, and it was very evident that it could be solved with Dijkstra optimally. And the interviewer asked them that can you, if you were to like, if you were given lakhs, if you could like somehow optimize this algorithm by being somewhat incorrect, maybe by approximately optimizing it, what would you do? And they simply expected a one word answer that I would apply A star here by like using some heuristic. So that's about it. And that person was, I think, very like, he was boasting about CP, and he could solve it, of course. He could justify that. So I don't think that we are like, we the mere mortals are likely to be asked those kind of questions. And balanced BST is a like I think yeah, so they do ask balanced BST, and sometimes I wasn't asked it, but I did prepare for it, and it is very general to hear about. In fact, in the preparatory material, they have all these topics by list that like you should know how to at least one BST balancing algorithm. So yeah.
Got it. So you're saying some of the preparatory material does cover what you need to sort of study as well. Maybe the question then, I saw this question a little earlier, is how do you get a referral into some of these companies?
Okay.
You want to share some light on that?
Okay, so there are many ways to get a referral. See, I got referred by Scalar, so I didn't have to work as hard for it as some people sometimes have to. But I could always get Amazon referrals on my own. So by approaching people on LinkedIn. So it's about you need to show off to the person, and you don't want to waste their time much if you're approaching. I probably said after I had my internship, my on-campus internship, my Scalar mentor suggested that I should seek to intern at a place that I would be happy if I get a pre-placement offer from there. So I went on a spree and I got addicted to LinkedIn. For a couple of weeks I messaged probably 200 people there, and so that's a inefficient way to do it, but that is also a way to do it. And I would say that if you want to get referral from in the wild, then you probably would do good if you have a good competitive programming profile. So then if a person asks me for a referral, and if he is a 5-star on Code Chef and I'm less than that, then I'm definitely going to refer him. And if I'm thinking like, yeah, he might not be able, so my only concern is that will he or she be able to crack is there even a remote possibility that because it doesn't cost me anything and it only has an upside that I might get a bonus. So that is there. And many people I know got referrals from their friends' contacts. So friend knew someone senior and they got a referral that way. So it isn't. I want to say that it isn't that hard. So when we are in college, we think like, yeah, getting an interview is that very hard. So my uncle is in IT, and he's a very weird background. He did bachelor's in economics and he did then MCA, and he's now 10 years senior. He says that even if I now want without any I'm a BTech, so obviously big companies would prefer me more than in economics and then MC and so on with a entirely different background. But he says that even he says that getting an interview is not that hard, and that is exactly true. Another takeaway that I want to share is that don't be, even if you're from a good college, don't be too reliant on or too expecting from the on-campus interviews. So I know many friends who got like dozens of offers off-campus, and campus obviously there's a constraint. So your preparation should be always like, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to play long term. Even I'm like, I got a shot at Google, and I got lucky that I made it. But even if I had not made into it, in a couple years more, I would have landed into a good place. That I can say for sure. But nobody can assure you that you can go into Google. So exactly, getting into it isn't as hard as you think in college.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
just summarize
in
that.
the pandemic, it might be. Yeah. Nowadays, it might be. So if you are not, don't think that like that guy said that getting into it isn't as hard, and I still am not getting it. It's a game of probabilities. If you have a 2% reply rate, then you can just do that thing 200 times and you will get a couple of replies, and then you got to take your shots.
Got it. Very, very, very interesting. Very helpful as well. There's one question around, questions around system design. That's
in my profile, Google didn't. So we were taught system design.
If I just interrupt you there, maybe we can talk about Google and the other companies as well.
Yes.
We can specifically answer Google and the others so that everyone gets a broader sense of all kinds of companies and system design.
So, one of the companies that I interviewed for was Shopee Singapore, and they did ask many questions. I guess at least 2 or 3 questions around system design. They also asked about OS and networking. So system design is important, but the way and I also interviewed for a company from Netherlands, Optiver, something like that. So that company also asked me about. So that was very funny. So by then my Scalar curriculum had not ended, and the guy asked me to design a video call system. So and by the way, if you're wondering like how do we apply for it, like because I applied for uh, many offshore companies, so you just have to like Google around it, and like I threw a name at you, Optiver. So they do hire from, you just look at what companies have from India. So then you know that these people are in like these companies do hire people from India, and then you can reach out to them. That's like kind of inefficient and desperate way to do it, but that is a good way to do it. That's not something to be looked down upon. So so I interviewed for Optiver, and the interviewer asked me to design a video call system. And I told him that I would convert the voice to analog system, so to digital, and then I would transfer it over the internet protocol and so on. I just told him that. But the things that in system design, again, it's a very commoditized thing. So in system design, they want to really learn about gonna scale it, how you're gonna like load balance, all those, what is the database going to looking like, and those things. So if you don't prepare specifically for it, you might be at a disadvantage. So like for system design, I remember there's a blog called highscalability.com. I came to learn about it from Gaurav Sen's YouTube, and I did prepare for it, but it was more for satisfying the internal curiosity. And the second thing is, so the takeaway was that offshore companies do look, and that's what my mentor too told me, that offshore companies do look at system design. And Google did not, at my stage, ask me any questions whatsoever about system design, but I was always boasting about it, that like whenever I wrote a code, so I would just throw a couple of remarks about like this is how we could scale it if this could grew large. So I always threw a couple of comments. So when you're talking to someone, especially if you want something from them, like in an interview setting, you want to tell them that you know what they want from you. So I always boasted that when I'm writing code, I would throw off a command that whenever someone would be reading this comment would be helpful in this way. So they knew that I'm focusing on readability, I'm focusing on scalability, those things. So preparation helps, but you can get away with without preparing for system design at fresher stage, definitely. And most of the 90% of Indian companies won't ever touch that topic.
Got it. So you're also saying system design is important, sometimes to differentiate yourself and show yourself as a cut above the rest.
Yes.
There's one question that someone asked on, the difference between a Google India interview and a Google international interview. I think you have a story around applying to Google outside of India. We want to just take that question as well.
So right now, our batch of Google hires is the biggest batch of Google India hires as yet. And
how many people is that?
I guess it's around 160 people. So it makes a large chunk of the Google India operations. And I guess I'm not sure. I guess they're still hiring, so you might want to check that out. And
Google is still hiring, guys. That's one thing.
Yeah. So they have, so as it's public news that Google has decided to invest heavily in India, and so that's probably why I got in somehow. So yeah, Google India and international process. I have no. Yeah. So I applied for international Google first when I got referral. So with a referral, you can apply to.
Hey Shubham, we can't hear you anymore. I think your audio jack might have come out. No, we still can't hear you.
Can you?
Yeah. No, now we can't. We lost you again. Maybe you want to just take out your earphones and try that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so I was saying that I applied to. It's good that this. Yeah, so I applied to Google, one of the international branches of Google, and my resume didn't get shortlisted. So the person who referred me he suggested me that I should apply for India, because then it would be more probable to get a call from them. And although I have not applied for international, like interviewed for international Google, but still they have I'm very sure they have a very uniform, in fact all of the companies have very uniform interview process these days. And you shouldn't worry about that. It's probably the same. However, the thing is that if they want to hire you from India for some other branch, then probably you have to be somewhat above the, like, maybe have more skills than other persons to, for them to justify you, like relocating you from here to there. And you probably have some specific skill sets that are very suitable for the teams that are located there. Maybe that is the case, but I'm not sure.
Got it. This makes sense. There's one question that I'd seen earlier. Yeah, full stack projects. Full stack projects, okay, nowadays everyone's into ML. This buzzword has been going on for a very long time, so maybe you want to answer that.
If I see an ML project in your resume and if I'm interviewing you, I'm going to grill you very much on that. Although I don't know about it, but I would seek to understand like how much you understand about it, because yeah, I don't have any ML projects, anything at all in my resume of that sort. And I, like, unless you're trying to go into research or so, I don't think you would get hired at any very good place which lets you do ML right after graduation. I guess I don't have the authority to say that, but this is what I see around me. I don't have much market experience, but I don't see anything like that happening. And you probably don't want to do, because it's like everyone at Google has this very good mentality that DSLGO is the bread and butter of engineering, computer engineering, and it's like the alphabet. If you cannot justify that you have very good command over it, we don't want to look at your vocab, and we don't want to look at your putting ML projects on resume. And if you do, then you better be very good. And full stack projects, so I had a full stack project which solved a real world problem in our college. So, and I, in every single interview, I was talking about that only. If they asked me to explain it, I would explain that particular project. If they if they picked a particular project, it always happened to be that one. Because if you are solving a real world problem by taking initiative, that is the best thing like an employer can get from you. So if you do a full stack project, I don't know about the front end guys, I'm not a fan of that. But if you are doing a full stack project, the more focus should be on impact, because you're not going to build something very new or make something very efficient, but you can solve something that you see around yourself by very basic things.
Got it. There's one question that Javed has asked, which maybe I will just quickly try to answer. How do you get a referral for experienced folks? Is there a Scalar program for folks who have less than 3 years of experience? Maybe I can answer that one, Javed. We have a program called Scalar Academy for working professionals. It's essentially a 30-week program where we sort of teach you the fundamentals of computer science, data structures, algorithms, system design. We also do a project with you either in full stack or backend. You can check it out. I can just put the link or the URL on this website on the chat right now, scalar.com/academy. I have just put it in. If you're just to reiterate for folks who joined, if you're a working professional, you have maybe somewhere between 2 to even 10 years of experience, and you're looking to strengthen your basics and foundations of computer science, data structures, algorithms, system design, and also learn a technology stack, either backend or full stack. This is the place that maybe you would like to check out if you'd like to explore something like this. Maybe let's come back to Google. Guys, just want to check again. We spoke a lot about Shubham's first round, his telephonic interview. We essentially said that there's an engineer from Silicon Valley who came down with 3 years of experience. So he didn't come down, maybe it was on the telephone, 3 years of work experience. Shubham's interview finished in 30 minutes. It was a 45-minute block. They're essentially looking for signals to hire you, not reject you. And they asked him only one question. Shubham, maybe you want to talk about a little of round 2, which was on site at Google Bangalore. 4 rounds of technical, 1 round of behavioral. Maybe before that, guys, in the chat, would that be helpful if you want Shubham to talk a little more about his on-site interview as well? Just answer with a yes or no, and we can either do that or something else. Shelly has a question on how different are on-site and telephonic. Okay, we try to answer that. What's the difference in difficulty and topics? Okay. Guys, let us know if you want us to move into the on-site interview a little. Okay, everyone, I think a bunch of people are saying yes. Gautam, Rachit, Bhupati, Vikas, Prateek as well. Awesome, great. So Shubham, maybe help us understand how is the telephonic interview different from the on-site interview? Is there a difference?
I didn't find any difference. So the thing is that if you clear your phone call interview, then Google invests heavily in you, in your stay, in your meals, in your round trips. So they only want to figure out, are you good enough to get interviewed on site? And a lot of my friends got accelerated out of that process. So it's not that it's not that different. So the question level was not different, I would say. The only so the all of the interview levels were same. I think only the last question of the last round, so the last technical round, second question, that was probably an entire different question, and that was around the thinking process, and that was probably the more difficult question, but all of the other questions are same. And again, in telephonic, they just wanted to figure out that is this guy worth investing in, is this guy worth being flown to Bangalore. That's all.
And how many on-site interviews? You said 4 rounds of technical, right?
Yeah,
and
4 technical and 1 Google.
How many questions in each technical round? What was the length of every technical round?
Okay, so yes, in the first round, length is always 45 minutes. That's kind of traditional in the industry. And in the first round, I solved one question. It was more about figuring out the edge cases and all those things. And once I had figured them out, I think the interview was like decided that we want to proceed with this guy. But still, I coded it because that was the question. And so in every round, they are trying to figure out something. And if by chance you get to know that this is the thing that they are trying to figure out, then you are going to ace that round. So the thing is that like some companies repeat questions, Google doesn't repeat questions. In my experience, they repeat concepts a lot. So there are a bunch of concepts: binary search on answer, and streaming data, and maybe DFS, BFS, and so on. So in the first round, it was around like figuring out the edge cases. And then while writing code, at some time I copy pasted a bit of code, and I mentioned it because I knew that redundancy is never pleases engineers. So I mentioned that I did it because of this reason, that I want it to be explicit rather than putting it forcibly into a function. So I did that, and the interviewer said that we don't want redundancy at all, you should make it into a function. So I did that. So if you are in doubt at some place, you should probably clarify it with your interviewer, because although much of our field is like binary, and like there are good things to do, there are bad things to do, but you should never forget the human. So that engineer who is interviewing you might have some strong personal preferences, so it's better to clear them up early on. So that's that. And I couldn't complete the code of that question, that question in the first round, but it was done because I had figured out the test cases, and most of the code was done. In second round, I was asked 2 questions and 2 follow-ups on them. So technically 4 questions, but the follow-ups were again of that kind that, so yeah, the other traditional thing is like you want to do something on big numbers, you do it using a graph, so you BFS or DFS on that. So that was the follow-up, and I probably wrote only one piece of code in that question too. So one good piece of code with functions and all. And after that, the one follow-up and that which I answered quickly, then second question, then second follow-up, and I didn't have to write code for it. In third round which was my like very bad round. I already explained about it. I couldn't complete one question. And in the fourth round was very good. So in fourth round I wrote 2 pieces of code. I'm not sure. No, I wrote only 1 piece of code. Yes, I wrote only one. But the question was very good. The second question was very good, and like again, one question with a follow up with then second question.
Got it. Just taking one moment again here for folks who might have joined later. Don't worry. Obviously, this will be on YouTube and LinkedIn, and you can watch the video. But if you want,
What is training data concept is just that like you must have seen that very popular question about building an LRU cache, a least recently used cache. So you probably want to do that question very well and think about how could I have figured out how to do this question, and you will be fine.
got it. There's one question I think before that on maybe this.
Many.
Rejections did you face? If you're comfortable sharing, of course, please.
Of course, I'm more than glad to share my rejections. So yeah, so first of all, I was not eligible to apply into any companies before in the internship phase, and I got rejected by a service-based company for an internship, and I got into the second intern. That's good. Then during the on-campus placements, I got rejected by Uber. So in test, I'm telling you that. So
Hey, I think did Shubham drop off, or is that my internet? Hey, Shubham, you back?
yeah, sorry. So yeah,
I think you might have frozen the last 30 seconds to a minute, so you might want to rewind and then start from there all over again.
Okay.
Sorry
So
about that.
I was telling that, I was telling that I got like I couldn't even sit in companies for internship for 6 months period, and then after that I got internship fairly quickly. But during my placement phase, I got rejected by there's one company called I forgot their name, and I don't want to like make them public because they didn't take any candidates from our college. So why give them free promotion here? So yeah, and and then there was Uber. So yeah, I was telling that I solved a question on. I solved one question out of the 3 that were there in the test, and I still didn't get shortlisted, and I was very sad about that. Like because the most I knew about like the guys who were the people who were shortlisted also solved one question. So things happen, and then I got rejected in Amazon in first round itself. I got rejected in Visa in first round itself, and after that I got rejected at Optiver online phone call. So in second round, so first was behavioral. There's a strange thing in like some foreign companies that they take the HR round first and then they take the technical round, maybe because they want to see that if the person is a good fit, because that like of course there's uncertainty involved from on-site or like overseas hires. And then I probably don't even remember many of my rejections because I told you I messaged 200 people on LinkedIn. So it's you want a certain level of motivation to do things in life, and you don't want to some people say contrary, that I have a friend who says that we should forget our successes very easily, but I don't find that like very motivating, because if I forget my success, how am I going to like get the motivation to work for the next stage? I would think that I'm not good enough, so I forget my rejections very often. Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. There's one question Bhargavi has been asking on resources to learn DSA. I'll just repeat that once more. I think I mentioned it earlier on Scalar Edge. I've put this on the screen as well, flashed it there. Scalar Edge is our program meant for college students, first, second, third, fourth year of college, who want to learn DSA, system design, do a project in a particular field. You can check out that URL over there, which will give you some scholarship. There's also a Telegram group you can join, and we're broadcasting messages there to help you guys understand a little more about the program. Just to answer Bhargavi's specific question, but let me stop that now. Shubham, there was a question around a behavioral interview that you were asked. What was that like? What are they looking to test?
So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. So first of all, I definitely prepared for it. I made notes. I googled around like what do before every company. It is very good. So again, there's one diffuse mode of learning and one focused mode for a specific company, and you want to do both of them, because if you try to like overfit the preparation for some company, then you're going to have no other options. And if you be very idealistic and only prepare on the fundamentals and don't even look at what the company is looking for, then you are at a very disadvantageous position. So you want to do both. So in Google, I specifically looked about like what they're looking for, but I don't. So up until last week, I think I was thinking that I nailed that behavioral round. But during this week at Google, I learned a couple things that, okay, these are our core values. And then I realized that I said totally opposite things in the interview. So again, there are no binary things, but still I was very confident in that interview. I was very honest. So even if I knew about these things, that like this is what they're looking for and so on, so I would not have focus mode for Google. I'll get to that. So yeah, so even if I had known about that, I would try to maybe justify my position. No, not justify, but I would like not have been dishonest. Certainly I would have maybe tailor made a solution, like answer for them. But yeah, so I was very candid, I can tell you that. So one of the questions they asked me, like, how do you handle stress? I told them about that, like I have a mid-semester exam in 2 days in college, and I have not studied for it, and I am not stressed, because if I nail this interview, nobody is going to ask me how much I got in that mid-semester exam. So that's the way to handle stress. That's like we prioritize. If we prioritize right, then we will like hardly ever have stress. So these are the kind of answers that I gave that like might look odd to people, but I was very honest. So I would say be honest, but like don't, if you're like, be yourself to the extent that you can justify that being in a society. Yeah.
Got it. Be honest and candid in your behavioral interview. So you had mentioned one thing, which is you were confident in your interview.
Yes.
Why was that? Like, why were you confident? What gave you that confidence in your interview? I'm sure people have that question.
Okay, so I was not confident because so I'll give you two reasons. I was not confident because I was very good at like algorithmic coding or so on. So first of all, I was confident because I was sure that I had prepared for everything. So I had a list of topics. So the thing is that, like as I said, Google repeats concepts, and if you have studied all of the syllabus, then you know that, like if you face a new question, you know that it is from one of these topics only. So in fact, this is not a good thing to do. But if you are like totally hopeless, then you can just do a for loop on those concepts. That is this a binary search question? Is there a graph question? Is there a DP question? So that way, at least you won't be totally lost. So this is not the thing that you want to do in every interview, but once in a while, once in 20 interviews, you can like probably get away with that. And I had already made it to the 4th round, and like I was sitting in my 5th round, so I was confident that, like, so see, the things that people say are colored from their ethos. So if I'm saying something, you probably have a element in your neural network that, okay, this is coming from a person who is in Google, then it carries some weight, and if this is coming from someone, then it carries some weight. So I knew that whatever I'm saying right now is coming from a person who has cleared 4 rounds. So I was confident in that sense, and I was confident in the sense that I think that I had a very structured worldview, and I think I knew like how to present it well. I think I know how to communicate well. So those are all the things, and these are all not all the things that I thought about myself 2 years back. So I had seen the progression, and I was confident because of that.
So then what changed? Like, so you're basically saying when you came to your behavioral interview as well, at least, right? You were very, very confident. The confidence stemmed from the fact that you thought you knew your stuff. And when you compared yourself to 2 years back to now, you felt a change in your confidence levels because you've studied it well. So what changed in that duration? How can people here benefit from that?
There are two dimensions of confidence. So first of all, it comes from not giving a fuck. So what I mean by that is, even if I don't make it here, then I'll do fine. So I always had that in my mind. In fact, I always whenever I walked into, even in day-to-day living, so you can like probably capture it best by the word stoicism, but I didn't know about it that way. But what I mean is that even if I don't even if I end up getting no job at all, or even if I if I'm on streets, so I'll do fine. I just had that. And the second dimension of confidence comes from the fact that given that you still have odds at doing the things that you want to do, so that comes from preparation, obviously. So but the thing is that when you don't have the first kind of confidence, then it's very hard, at least for me, to manage to even get motivated to prepare. So you should consider so this is the way when I say you should, obviously I'm speaking from myself only. And you should always think of the worst case scenario, what could go worse. So I put myself into a lot of uncertain positions. And with the LinkedIn experiment, I once went for a couple of guys were running from IIT, were running a fintech firm, and I went there and I just interviewed with them, and that went very terrible, very bad. In that, what I mean by that is, so so I learned a couple of things from there. So I was always so when you have a large data set with you, you're confident in your choices, that like, yeah, I know that I won't be making at least these mistakes. So the old adage goes that like, don't make the same mistake twice. I take it as make every mistake at least once, because then you will be confident that the other guy who has not made those mistakes will not be as much experienced as you. So those are the dimensions.
Correct. So one part you're saying is that, think of the worst case scenario and be comfortable with the worst case.
So people in it sometimes suggested that you should not apply for companies that you're not ready for. I kind of don't agree with that advice at all. In fact, my mentors advise that, but I don't know, maybe they know something else that I don't know yet. But the way I see it is that there are a lot of fish in the sea, and you, even if you get a 1 year cool off period from Google, from Amazon, it won't matter. There are hundreds of companies, you can interview them in the meantime. And by the process of applying, by the process of interviewing, you will certainly pick up more helpful things than Scalar could teach you, then you could yourself have figured out by following resources on internet, because doing is the best way of learning. So I did that a lot. Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. There's one question that Nikhil had asked earlier. I think maybe he had asked half an hour back and I'd missed it, which was this. Does every domain require coding, DevOps, or cloud? Would you like to just answer this briefly, and then we'll come back to the Google stuff?
Yeah, I'm not qualified enough to answer this, but I don't know what you mean by coding. If you mean by writing code, then yes, you maybe need to write code, obviously, for DevOps or cloud. But yeah, I was talking about my uncle. So he does not do coding, but he's still in the IT domain. I still haven't figured out what exactly he does, but yes, there might be some positions and so on. And if you mean by that competitive programming, so yes, if you want to get hired into FANG, then you need to have some your basics clear in this area. And if you have don't think of this like jumping through hoops. Think of this like making two thresholds. So they have particular thresholds in all areas. If you are a star coder but you have no social skills, they won't be able to hire you. And if you are average above what they are looking for in both domains, then they will be very glad to hire you. So there might be some positions, I don't know, but if you are going to work for these companies for the salaries that you see across the web, then maybe you need to do that coding.
Got it. I hope Nikhil, that answers your question. If it doesn't, please, why don't you just retype the question or rephrase the question for us, and Shubham can answer that for you if it's not answered already. There's one question that Nidhi is asking, which I'll flash on the screen right now, is just going through the book, Cracking the Coding Interview, sufficient to crack Google? Maybe, Shubham, you want to take this question and explain to people what is this book all about, and then maybe talk about
So
how
I've gone
does.
through this book, and it is good. It is good, but I won't say sufficient, because see, I'm the prime example of the person who tries to do things by reading books and then still finds himself lacking in those things. So the thing is that you can any book is never sufficient unless you put yourself in situations. So if I were to say that you can only go interview for companies, and if I were to say you can only read this book, then probably doing both is, yeah, the optimal thing to do. And it won't teach you the qualitative aspects, the behavioral aspects, the mindset of the interviewer. So but it is a good book. I must say that it is a good book.
Correct. So it's a good book. You should read it, but it's not sufficient.
You can even get away without reading it. It's not necessary, and it's not sufficient.
Got it. I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please feel free to sort of rephrase and
But
ask
one
us.
question that I want to take, please explain focused mode for Google. So yes, again, Google wants to hire you more than you want yourself to get hired. So they have put a lot of material across the web. There's one particular blog by Steve Yagi, who used to work for Google back in 2009, and I did kind of Monte Carlo experiment on it. I randomly looked up some people who commented on that blog, and the blog is from 2010 and so on. So I looked their profiles on LinkedIn, and probably 30 to 40% had worked after that point at some point at Google. So that is the impact of that blog. So the takeaway is, don't take the material that they give you lightly. You want to go about that very seriously. And some things that I did that I think very much helped, but it might sound funny to you. Before my interview, I just ran a blog, because it is said that when you run, then blood rushes through your brain and so on. And you can say those are myths, but I found them very helpful. So I took a coffee, then I ran for some time, then I took another coffee, then I meditated for 5-10 minutes, whatever I back then knew about meditation. And then at 8:25, I landed at the place that I wanted to interview. So these things are very important. These things do make your brain go, because yeah, you must see that your performance rises and falls across the day and across the months. So you want to be at the optimal performance at that point.
Got it. Awesome. There's one question on internships. I think Gaurav is asking this question on, if you don't have an internship, does Google consider you? I think we answered that, that it's okay if you don't, but try to make it up with as many projects. Show initiative, essentially. Shubham, do you want to add something to that? Or did that summarize what
I'm
you
not
meant?
sure. They might have some criteria, that because I don't know anyone who, so I don't know much people, but I don't know anyone who doesn't have an internship and got into Google. So I cannot definitely answer that, but it certainly helps. It will help you grow as an engineer. It is very, so my internships at CypherRock was very much a learning experience. So one internship I did from my on campus, and another I did at a startup which was founded by people from my college, and that was very, very enlightening. And I interned there for 3 months, and I like put a lot of that stuff in the my Google resume that went to the HR too. So sorry, not to HR, no, to hiring committee. So another takeaway, you can in fact at Google, the resume that I applied with was not the one that hiring committee saw. So I updated it continuously. Whenever she asked me, the recruiter asked me for a resume, I would update it with my new learnings and with my what I knew that Google was looking for. So I updated it, and a large chunk of it was internship then. But did Google consider me before that? Yes, because but then again, I already had an internship. So it's like, if you have zero internships, it kind of look bad on your resume, I would say that.
Got it. There's one question, I think it's a repeated one, but Sneha's asking, can you share those repeated concepts at Google? I think you had mentioned read lists.
So I've been seeing that binary search at answer. This is one of the concepts that gets repeated often. You can look up painter's partition problem, and you'll do good. Make sure that you understand all this, because it's like before taking these names, I hesitate a bit, because I feel like I'm making this thing public that people should work for. So because it took a lot of effort for going through everything, and then we find that these things are matter. But the thing is that even after I told you, if you don't work for it, if you don't understand exactly how it works, why it works, how could you have gotten to the point of solving it, then you probably won't benefit much from it. And so yeah, that's one of the repeated concepts. Then in graphs, they often ask about like DFS, and like if there are large numbers. So I don't know if Google asked this, but like this is a common question, that if you want to handle huge numbers, then you put them into a graph, then and so on. And I don't want to take that name, but like some questions, if you mention segment trees in as one of the solutions, and if you're confident that you can code it, then it might be an added advantage. But again, it wasn't an expected solution in the fourth round. I'm talking about the fourth round, second question. So these things are like they do get repeatedly asked. And again, these all things are some of these things are such that if you boast about DSL on your resume, only then you are going to be asked these things. If you don't do that, then maybe you will be asked some basic questions.
Correct. Sneha, I hope that answered your question to a certain extent. There's one question on how the interviews differ from each other. There's a Google interview and there's another interview like Amazon. Maybe we don't have to just do Google and Amazon, but you can, across the spectrum, whatever you've noticed, and the differences in interview style, interview concepts, any of that would be helpful.
So there's this that international companies do have a slightly different flavor. I have seen that they tend to focus more on I haven't interviewed for an international company that didn't ask about OS networking, but I have been interviewed by lots of Indian companies that don't at all ask about these things. And Google doesn't. Google versus Amazon, I'm not sure, but yeah, I do know this, that Amazon copies a lot of their question, and people sometimes like manage to overfit that. But it's not like that. Most of them are good. I'm not saying anything against that. But yeah, Google probably doesn't repeat any questions. And in terms of code quality, a lot of it matters. Yeah, so I almost missed this point. So Google wants to see very, very, very good code in your first trial. So I have this anecdote that person missed an iterator increment in a while loop, and the interviewer asked for like 3 times that, like, yeah, are you sure this code is fine? Are you sure this code is fine? Then when you hand over the code to the interviewer, you should be very comfortable, that you should be very sure that this code is very good, and this will run and compile. This will compile and run correctly on the first trial. And if you don't do that, then they take off points for that. And the way to prepare for that is, and it is very simple, you just do whiteboard coding. So the Steve Yagi blog that I mentioned earlier, it focuses a lot on like do whiteboard coding, and he even suggests that you should take your own markers with you to the interview. And I even did that, although now they take the interviews on a text editor. But again, an interesting anecdote, I used to practice in my college. So I lived near my college, and I went with my markers, and I used to practice on whiteboards. And one of the professors who saw me, he came and he asked me, "Karte kya ho beta? Naam kya hai tumhara?" This is a dialogue from Three Idiots movie. So where the person is the child is solving 10th class problems in 6th class. So he used to make fun of me. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed that very much. Do whiteboard coding, yeah, like do it on notebook. So the process is, first do whiteboard or notebook coding, then copy it, then trace it out on the text editor, then copy and paste it into an online judge. And when you hit run, you should be sure that 80% of the times that you hit run, your solution gets accepted the first time. And it isn't very hard to do if you are sufficiently, if you have practiced sufficiently, because it's just a bad habit that we have, that we run, then we see what compilation errors are, what runtime errors are we getting, and then we think about it. And the way to avoid that is just go through some of the test cases. In fact, one of the things that I did was, I first of all, whenever I heard a question, I used to write down some of the test cases. So this is some of the inputs. These are the expected outputs. What that did was it clarified with the interviewer that we are both like solving the same question. I don't have any misconceptions that the question is different, and you don't want that. You don't want that. That happened with my Amazon interview. So that will the other thing that it does, it shows to the interviewer that you are very serious about your stuff and you do things neatly in an organized manner, and you this thing called test driven development, in which you write tests first. But you don't do that, but because you need to maintain balance of everything, and you're juggling a lot of things here. You want to solve the question too, you do. So but I did that. I wrote test cases and expected outputs, and I asked them, like, tell me if I'm wrong here, if I misunderstood the question. Then I used to write the code for it. Then I used to dry run on at least one test case. Even if the I asked the interviewer that, do you want me to dry run? But I said it like that, I want to run it on at least one input. I cannot hand over this piece of code to you before I'm at least somewhat sure that this is going to run. Because that's what big companies don't want at all, that you are submitting code that doesn't run.
Got it. Yeah, that's the cardinal sin that you should definitely avoid. Maybe let's take a few more questions. Let's aim to wrap this up in the next 15 minutes or so. I think we've been going on for close to an hour and a half now. I think there's one question on projects, which is, what kind of projects are important? Web development, ML. Do you have any view on that? I don't know if VD, the author of this question, I don't know if you're asking this specifically for a Google interview or you're asking this more broadly, but maybe you can answer for both.
As I said earlier, strong opinion, maybe unjustified opinion, but this is an opinion that you don't want ML at all unless you're very good at it. I have a friend who got into a good company by ML, but he is very, very good at it. And so unless you are very confident about it, you don't want that. And so at least for Google and all, even if you are confident, then they might have some DS algo rounds. I don't know if you can do without DS algo. And so DS algo is not at all a trivial thing that you can manage it with ML. So you must have some serious dedication to manage that. And projects, I already told you that there are a lot of problems. In fact, I wanted to build a lot of things during the course of my college, but due to procrastination and priorities and all, I couldn't do them. So my project that I did was related to web dev, and I didn't even do it very properly, but I did it in a way that was helpful to us. So I was in a non-profit, and I automated the system by which we managed blood donors, and we located the nearest donor to whenever a request came. So that process took us 1.5 hours earlier, and after that it got completed in a couple of seconds. So that was very helpful for us. That's why I built it. That's why I could tell it in the interviews, and I could show that this is the impact that I brought. So that's what you want, I guess.
Got it.
And there are a lot of things. I was just thinking that we should in India have an integrated, I don't know if that exists, integrated platform for lost and found, integrated platform for like blood donation requests. Yeah, like the people have organized themselves into this WhatsApp forward things, and everybody puts status, and we don't know, we are not sure that is this request coming from today or was it from 3 days back, and you call that the patient has already recovered. Or so you can solve a lot of problems around this. You can make university management systems for maybe storing question papers or past year question papers. But whatever you do, try to do in 2 ways. So try to think about scalability, that if this system were to scale, at least to justify it in interviews, because they are going to look at those things. How could I scale it? Because even if I built it in a wrong way, in a very crude way, I did this to optimize for course and not for optimize for computer science way. But I always had this in mind that if this system were to be optimized, then I would do it in this way. And second thing is, do it in a replicable way. So if you build something for your university, this is what I regret for my system, because it is probably a bit of work to set it up for another university. So if you do something, it would be very good if you could do, maybe take help from some senior, that how could you do it in that way, but so that anyone can clone that repo and can set it up in a couple of minutes. That would be good.
Got it. So one of the key insights from this was do a project, but do a project with impact.
Definitely.
Try to think about that as well while you do it. There's one question that Binu was asking on CGPA. Maybe that's something we should have answered.
I'm glad you asked this question. So I had 6.8 aggregate in like at the end of 4th semester, and so in my college, like with if you are below 7, you cannot sit for probably 70% of the companies, 70-80% of the companies, and they are obviously good companies that you want to sit for. And if you have 7+ CGPA, then you can sit for most of the companies. Some good companies don't allow you to sit, but we don't want to. We want to like maximize our long-term odds, not some overfitting. So yeah, so to do that, I quit coding, like I quit reading, I quit everything, and I just like supreme goal 10 in all. This was like written on my wall, supreme goal 10 in all. I wanted to get 10 CGPA in all things. And even after that, I studied. So getting CGPA, that 9 CGPA I got that semester, and that was the hardest thing in my 4 years of college. And in fact, that was also somewhat with a like blessing of the providence, because the university grading system changed a bit. That helped me boost it up a bit. So yeah, so one insight from that is that like this is how it works with me. I don't know how it works with everyone, but one North Star at one time. If you want to like crack a good company, you should have that thing. So in Google, we have these OKRs and objective and key results. In every company, there's a like mission statement. And although some people claim that it is like cheap signaling and all that, but that does help direct all of your efforts. So yes, CGPA does not matter in that sense. Now my CGPA when I applied to Google was 7.2. So my recruiter asked me for so my resume didn't mention my CGPA. I submitted it to Google. I got a phone call. After that, recruiter asked me like, can you tell us your CGPA? I mailed them. This is the like approximately the exact thing that I mailed them. Okay, I have attached the updated resume with the updated CGPA, but I want to stress upon the fact that I do not think that my CGPA justifies like or reflects my understanding of the CS concept, and I'm very comfortable and I'm very confident that I'm going to be able to answer any related questions to subjects of related to computer science in the interviews. And the recruiter obviously then replied that we don't take this into consideration in the final judgment. This is just thing we have to have at the back end. And the reason that they want to have that at the back end is Google is running again many experiments. They are all about data, and this is how you should be. Whenever you get a question, you should think about how much RAM do I need for this, how much storage should I need for this. So if you show that, then it's good, like guesstimate kind of stuff. So what they do is they internally also test that does CGPA of the candidate matter for his performance over the years at Google? Does interview performance correlates with work performance? So they are just running those kinds of experiments, and unless they find that CGPA does matter, and I'm very sure they will find that it doesn't matter at all, then you're good.
Got it. I'll just answer one question that Abhishek had asked. I mean, I'll give your vocal cords a 30-second rest, and I will answer this question, which is, please let me know, do you have an upcoming batch for the experienced developer and any tentative date? So Abhishek, we also run a course, Scalar Academy for working professionals. I will put the link in the chat window. The next batch will be announced in the next 30 days. So would please request you to just have a look at the website over the next 30 days, and you will definitely get an email. If you log in to Scalar Academy, then you'll get an automated email as well when we do launch the batch, so that you're most updated. I'm just putting the link in the chat window. It's also going to flash it on the screen so that everyone knows as well what I'm talking about. Hey Shubham, are you back? You taking a okay? We're going to take a quick drink break. I guess there was one question that Sneha was asking which is this one. What was your prep strategy after clearing the phone round with the first telephonic round, which you did for 30 minutes, and before the on-site round? What was the prep strategy, and how much time did you really have in between? Was it more of just solving doubts or solving questions, or did you study more new concepts? How was that?
I didn't study any new concepts, I think, but I definitely went through all of them so that I have them fresh in the memory. And my prep strategy for the phone call was that you want to stimulate. So the thing is that our brain gets confused by the environment change. So if you go to a new place, you will find that you might have trouble sleeping, because like brain is looking that are there new dangers around here. So the thing is, what I want to say with that point is that you want to stimulate the interview experience as much as possible. So I used to take a lot of mock interviews, and what I did was, before the phone call, because the phone call was going to be happening on Google Docs, I practiced on Google Docs. And because I was under the impression that the real interview was going to happen on Whiteboard, I practiced on Whiteboard. And that was exclusively the strategy. I prepped a bit of introduction thing that was like kind of trademark to me, so I cannot tell you that. But the takeaway is that you probably want to work on your introduction, because everyone who meets you will ask that, introduce yourself. So you want to nail that thing too. And you want everything to be fresh in your memory, because no matter how superstar of a coder you are, if you didn't practice in the last couple of weeks, then you are a very serious disadvantage. And I listed all the topics, and I learned them by heart, that so that I am confident that everything that comes my way, I'm confident that it is coming from one of these topics and I can do it. Not necessarily did I iterate over them, that like I told you, but it gives you confidence that you're done with your syllabus. And prep strategy, again, I told you, I coded on Whiteboard, then I copied it on Sublime text editor, and then I copy pasted into the interview with the platform, whatever question I was doing. If it was lead code, then lead code, and then I run it. And I was optimizing for the fact I want to get accepted at the first time. This is not my long-term diffuse strategy. Diffuse strategy was whatever they were teaching at Scalar, and whatever I wanted to study at that, whatever my mood was. So I was studying in that way only.
And how do you come up with the strategy of? It's very interesting, right? You first whiteboard it out, then you go to a text editor.
It's all there in the PVAK blog. So yes, so the thing is that I didn't take it very seriously, because before the one of my friends interviewed on a few days back before my on-site was scheduled, and then the iterator increment thing happened. That although most of it was correct, but a bit of, so this was not the only thing that he missed, but he missed a couple of things, and I was very scared about that even if I miss a single thing, then I'm at a very serious disadvantage. So I don't want to do that. So am I audible?
Yep. Yeah, you are.
Okay. So you were still, I thought the screen closed.
No. I was just outside.
Okay. So I was very scared that I don't want to mess up in this dimension, and I was comfortable that I'm prepared with the syllabus. And again, the best advice is that don't study anything new in the last days. But I still attempted to study the Floyd-Fulkerson algorithm, and it's just because the mentor told me that Google was asking that a couple of years back. But you don't want that. Even if you the worst case is that you will miss that question, and something else would be asked. If you're covered with 90%, then you're good enough.
Got it. I think we're almost close to time, so let's do the last 3 questions, guys. And Shubham, why don't you pick the 3 most interesting ones? I saw one on English and communication and the importance for that. Maybe if you want to take that, you can take that one, or any of the other questions that you have. Please go ahead.
So I think it's like a list. Is English is very important during communication in interview. So it's not something that they're judging for. It's kind of something that they take for granted, that because our headquarters is based off America, so they probably want you to be comfortable, very comfortable with. So the thing is that I want to give a takeaway from that. We think a lot of time that we are wasting our times by watching television series and all those things. What I realized is that in my first years, I was not at all comfortable in talking in English and in understanding social cues and all those things. And I specifically like with a strategy, I watched television series for that. Of course, I'm just excusing myself. I was like enjoying them too, but I guess that thing helps certainly, because like most of the world is Americanized right now. So you would do good in social settings too, even if you go out of India sometime. Then if you know about some of the like running memes of the international world, and if you are very comfortable in spoken English and understanding and picking social cues, so maybe that is a good way. If you like put one hour for watching TV series, whatever entertainment you do. If you do gaming, I don't do gaming, so I hate that. And like you can probably utilize that time, and it is not something again that they judge you on. But if you don't have that, I don't think that they would want to consider you. Sorry.
So important to an extent is
Yes, they're not looking for Shakespeare, obviously, but yeah.
Got it. One question, I think I've answered this to some extent, but again, we do provide demo classes for Scalar. Just check out scalar.com/edge. We do a few master classes quite regularly. You will see it in the page itself, in the website. And you can register for those, and you can see some of those demo classes. I can just put the URL again in the chat section for you, Abhishek. Abhishek, I'm flashing it again on the screen. If you'd like to check out this, you might find some demo classes there. Hey, Shubham, I know you're saying don't panic. Panicking a little that I don't see you. But I think Sneha has asked this question now a few times, which is, should you aim to solve a hard level lead?
Not at all. So yeah, lead code hard is probably you don't want to do that at all. I'm assuming that you're a fresher and you can probably get away without doing that. But if you're naturally, so see, what the things that I'm saying right now is after the fact that I've done it. So maybe doing those things helped me, but I don't think I can ever solve this lead code hard problem in 20 minutes unless like I'm very experienced and drilled. But yeah, that's not so. The free interview version, that interviewbit.com/practice, that has enough questions, and if you can solve all of them, if you can solve 90% of them in under 25 minutes with explaining your thought process, then you're good enough. Then after that, if you face any rejections, then it's due to the inherent ambiguity in the nature of interviewing process, and then it's not your fault, and then you just want to optimize for appearing for more and more interviews. I just want to take a question from Umesh Kumar. I have below, hi Umesh, is a friend. I have below 7 CGPA. I have not done any prestigious internship, and is there a chance I will crack Google, Microsoft, or big company? Yes, definitely. So the thing is that after a couple of years, the way I gather, I think Google and Microsoft. I'm not sure about Microsoft, but I'm sure. I think I'm sure about Google and Apple that they removed their degree requirement. And so, if they are willing to consider someone without a degree, then they should be willing to consider someone without 7 CGPA. What I would suggest is don't put your resume, don't put your CGPA on your resume. You want to highlight your best parts. If I see your resume and if I see you are mentioning your 6-point or 5-pointer CGPAs, then I think that doesn't this person have anything good to show off. So you should understand that, and you want to put your best parts, and maybe it might matter for a couple years. And I think Microsoft, if I'm not wrong, has a 7 CGPA requirement for at least I think 4 years. So that might haunt you, but it's not something that I would worry about, because anyways you cannot change that. If you cannot change, then it's a constant, and you should not be worrying about it. You should just go ahead and apply. If it doesn't if it doesn't go your way, then what you can do. But you definitely have a shot at one of the big 5.
Got it. Just one thing on this, Umesh, as Shubham was also talking about the resume, as part of the Scalar program, the Scalar Edge and Scalar Academy, we do help you create your resume. We do help you decide which companies you might want to interview for. and so on. So you might want to check out that as well. Maybe we can take a last question. Maybe Shubham, if you want to have a look at the list, we can take one question from there.
Points to be taken in consideration while creating CV resume. Okay, so this is what I'm grateful to Sujit Nair, who is who was my mentor at Scalar. He works at Netflix Silicon Valley, and I appeared for a test at NPTEL, and so I did a course at NPTEL in Python and data structures and algorithms and so on. So in that I managed to get a very good rank, and I posted it on the top of my resume. And that particular program was run by IIT Madras. So I put it in this way: NPTEL, IIT Madras. So he says that this looks like cheap signaling. Why do you want to put IIT? First of all, it's very cluttered. So you don't want it cluttered. You want a homogeneous thing. Homogeneous font, and you want to keep it classy. So this is one of the things that I see people cheap signaling on LinkedIn, that they got selected. I don't want to trivialize it, but please just if you're applying for a good place, then you should show that if you're applying for a classy place, then you're yourself classy. And by that I mean that you want to highlight things that took effort to do. You don't want to do something that I think you get what I'm saying. And so I removed that IIT Madras thing immediately. So this is just that complex that we all have, and we shouldn't do that. And in fact, I was talking to someone from a tier 3 college a few weeks back, and he was somewhat insistent that I'm not from an IIT. So we have in India, we have this competitive thing going on, and it's very bad. So don't have that. And you want to highlight your good parts, you want to hide your bad parts. I don't want to see your bad parts at all. So and don't ever go beyond 1-page resumes. 1+ page resumes, I think, definitely go to the bin right away these days. And this is the general wisdom that we have all decided upon. Unless you have 10+ years of experience, then that is justifiable. And mention things that you're interested about. So I have a miscellaneous section on my resume in which I don't talk about CS things at all, and it takes about 15 to 20% of my resume, where I mention that I like to read books and I've read X number of books. So this is the thing that I generally boast about in my and then I mentioned the non-CS courses, online courses that I've done. So that's a miscellaneous section. What things I've done. Then in fact, if I add volunteering thing, then it gets over to 30%. So my 30% of my resume is not at all about CS. And even in that volunteering thing, what I show is that there I brought my CS knowledge and helped optimize that process that I was talking about earlier, blood donation process. So you want to show that you are passionate about CS, and you are not just someone who is attracted by the huge packages, and you optimize yourself, you automate yourself out of difficult tasks. You are what you're like. I definitely want to know what makes you, and what are your internships are good. And anything that talk in terms of numbers. Engineers look at your resume, and they they get very excited when they see numbers, and you want to show that I got this much rank, or this much out of these many people. And otherwise there's no point of saying okay, so these are all my friends who are there. Okay, so you want to do that. Then another thing, so one of the people who I mailed from Steve Yage's blog, and I looked it up from Steve Yage's blog and mailed him, and he replied that what you want to do is you want to describe your experience in terms of achieved X by doing Y as measured by Z. So even though I had to make those numbers in terms of my internships, but they want to see it in those terms. And you don't want to be dishonest, but you can do, ultimately you can approximate that. So what I did was I wrote that I made I restructured the flow of control of the thing that I was working on by doing this. So I decreased the development time by 80% by restructuring the flow of control as measured by time measured to put in a new screen on our product. This is about my internship at CypherRock. So this is the thing: achieved X by doing Y as measured by X. and you want to as measured by Z, and you want to want it all to be in terms of numbers. So these are all.
Awesome. I think we're really out of time now.
One more thing, feel free to omit anything that you don't that you think don't doesn't add to your resume. Again, I didn't put my any competitive profiles there because they were not exceptional, although they were good, I get. So I didn't put LinkedIn because I hate that platform. I didn't put a lot of things that are traditionally in the resumes. So yeah.
Awesome. Great. I think we've had a very insightful session. It's close to 2 hours now. I didn't realize that till I actually looked at the clock. But thank you so much, Shubham. Thank you so much again for taking out the time to give back to the community. As everyone is saying, Sparsh,
These are all my friends. I'm kind of sad no one who is not my friend has like appreciated the session, I guess. All of these are my friends.
No, I'm sure lots of people appreciate the session. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining. We'll be back very shortly with another AMA with Scalar mentees to talk about their experience as well. Thank you for joining, and have a great Sunday evening.
Okay, bye. Can I end the session?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, bye.